Welcome back to the FACEIT Challenger Invitational number 2. I am James Stressoleri. Alongside me, Vince Metuz Hill. We're actually in Champion Select now for Game 2 of a very exciting series.
We are. Game number 1, if you did just join us, went to the hands of Gamers 2, but it was a long-fought slogfest there.
Yeah.
It's slugfest, I should say. It was just two teams smashing each other over the head for 50 minutes.
Yep, and I mean, we saw TNP take the lead in that game. Actually, Zed going to be banned out by Gamers too. They don't want Ocelot on that Zed. A funny little thing, I was actually checking Twitter during the break, and wow, they're going to pick LeBlanc first. Ocelot said, I feel I played that game very badly, but the rest of my team played perfectly. And it was as close to perfect as you could be. And you just said to me, actually, that you felt that that stalling composition was just played very, very well.
It was. I mean, Ocelot played, I would say, poor for the start of the game. But he fulfilled a niche role towards the end, which we were talking about, where he didn't want to pick up the kills, he just wanted to do as much damage before dying as possible, allowing Yuki and also JWoww to just run rampant. And there's actually a Twitter message that you noticed there in the break.
Yeah, exactly.
To bring up.
He was saying that they played perfectly. And that was just one of the key points of Gamers 2 coming back into that game. Luckily, we had a bit of a stall out here in Champion Select where TNP haven't selected their first two just yet. But we mentioned in game 1, like LeBlanc is a champion that is good in mid lane, but also kind of is a skill matchup in most of her matches. Gragas is a kind of decent pick against LeBlanc. In theory, LeBlanc does well against Gragas, but it's all down to the very early game. Again, like the last game.
All down to execution.
Yeah.
As you say, though, very much a skill matchup. And LeBlanc is a very skill-dependent player.
Yeah.
Champion, I should say. Because I've seen a lot of bad LeBlancs in my time. Yeah.
Wow, that's a fast lock-in on Pantheon and Leona. And that's an intent that this isn't going to be a long game.
No.
Pantheon doesn't exactly have the greatest late game to him. Has a very strong early game out of the jungle. So again, this kind of feels like whether LeBlanc can get rolling or not. And, very poor and loose pun on that one. But the thing about LeBlanc-Gragas matchups is, as LeBlanc, you can lose the matchup by taking one or two too many barrels at level 1 or 2. If you get frozen out of that lane by accidentally stepping on a barrel in the very early game, you are very low. And then it's just a case of Gragas coming in, landing an auto attack and not taking too much damage. Likewise, you kind of have the opposite side of that, and it happens in every lane. But LeBlanc's fairly fragile to begin the game. Yeah,
very much the case. And we saw what Santorin did in game number 1, and that's camp mid. So Ocelot needs to be careful here. If he overextends, if he makes poor judgment calls like he did in the game number 1, which he freely admitted himself over Twitter, then Santorin will punish him.
Yeah, but that's kind of the caliber that a player Ocelot is. That he at least recognized that, okay, I didn't do so well. So he's now probably more motivated, picking himself up. So I expect to kind of see a turnaround in this game.
Definitely. Massive kudos to him. It takes a big person to admit their own faults and say, that game I got carried. Like, I straight up got carried by my team. There's going to be plenty of games, of course, where Ocelot carries them too. And that's,
we've seen that as well.
Yeah, that's what makes a great team, is when everybody is capable of carrying one another.
Yeah, now we have had a Nami lock-in, actually.
Wow.
That's something different.
That is something we've not seen so far in this tournament, and that I have not seen for a few months.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, Nami got changed a little bit. The duration on Aqua Prison, I believe, got reduced. We're talking patches ago, pre-season patch. So it's been a little while to kind of digest what Nami's got. Good disengage, of course, from the tidal wave. Not the best engage tools, but bottom lane has quite a lot of presence. You can lock somebody down with Aqua Prison. I think it lasts for something like a second to a second and a half on the stun. So it's very, very long duration. I wonder how that's going to work against the Leona, because if Leona Zenith Blades in and you can Aqua Prison, I guess that could lock her down.
Wow, Vayne. Vayne picked with the Nami. As you say, about 1 to 1.5. That's down from 2.5, I think.
It was considerably longer. It was like 1.82, something like that.
That's what made her so strong in laning phase, because you can double bubble at bot lane, and basically it's like in total 4 seconds stun. It's just crazy. But Vayne and Nami, this is something we saw a lot at the end of Season 3, because if you give the Tidecaller's Blessing her E, which gives you a slow on attacks and also additional damage on Vayne, who then gets the silver bolt procs. That's a lot of damage out of thin air.
Yeah, there's a considerable amount of damage there. And again, it's kind of a situation of the last game where Vayne is going to scale very well into the late game. Shyvana's going to scale pretty well, and there's a pretty early game comp on the Gamers 2 side of things that, Mundo will do well as well. It's kind of it's been a couple of weeks since we've actually seen Mundo Shyvana, funnily enough.
It has, yeah.
I mean, we saw that consistently for about a month. Like, there was nothing else played until Trundle got brought back in. So kind of, I'm not happy to see Mundo Shyvana, but I'm kind of almost happy. I'm like as happy as I can be with a lane that I've casted hundreds and hundreds of times.
I'm happy it's not Renekton, because I think we saw Renekton in almost every single game yesterday. It's just like a top tier, top laner. I am very interested to see how Yero plays on Nami. Now, you've got quite a lot of experience with Yero as a player. You used to manage him. What is Nami like? Have you seen him play this champion much?
Haven't seen his Nami in a very long time. What I will say, though, is he loves when AD carries can play Vayne.
Right.
Loves it.
Okay.
100%. If you can play Vayne, he's like, play Vayne. He'd be perfect for CLG, but it's one of those things that Nami is one of the champions he used to quite like, and I know that for a fact. It was a champion that he felt very comfortable on. Again, the stuns, anything that has lockdown like that is good for that lane pressure, the style he likes. So. There's a lot in this game again, and it's a very different setup from the last game, which the last game was a very different setup from most of our games yesterday. So
that's what I love about these two teams, though. They're not afraid to burst out something different and new. Something, well, not necessarily new, but something that we've not seen for quite some time.
Yeah.
So it's, speaking of burst, a bad pun there on Nami. Apologies for that one.
Well, I was going to say, as we head into this game, we're going to see whether Gamers 2 can win this or whether TNP are going to burst their bubble and take this to a game 3.
Oh dear,
but
James.
While we're here for the FACEIT Challenger Invitational, sponsored by Overwolf, and who we want to say thank you to, as this wouldn't be possible without them. I wanted to bring up FACEIT a little bit. So we did this yesterday. So everybody that has a FACEIT account, get ready. If you don't have a FACEIT account, you've got about 30 seconds. Head to faceit.com. Go to the sign-up process, and you need to get to the point of the page where we're on the subscription settings. So top right of the screen, there's an arrow. Head into there, into, I think it's profile management, into subscription settings is up in the arrow from the top right. And I haven't got it on the screen, so unfortunately I can't see it for me. But it'll be there on the screen. And we have a promo code for people to type in. It's going to come up on screen very shortly.
It is. So we're giving you a bit more chance to get ahead there. There we go. I love LOL.
Oh.
I do.
You do?
I wouldn't be here otherwise, would I?
That's a very good point.
And neither would a lot of these people watching.
That is a good point. So the first 10 people that redeem that, sorry if you're in the Twitch delay. I know. You're probably going to let us know in chat. But the first 10 people that redeem that will get premium added to their account. So you can get even more cool prizes, which, you can win some pretty cool prizes on FACEIT.
You certainly can, such as peripherals and even a car.
Yeah. It's,
that escalated quickly,
prize.
didn't it?
It
peripherals
did.
to car. But still, it just goes to show the level of commitment from FACEIT here to their sub base, and of course also their account holders as well. And remember, it's not just League of Legends. You can play CSGO and Quake, also from FACEIT.com.
Yeah, so if those games take your fancy, as we are loading into our game 2 here for our semi-finals, it's that moment where we're both kind of like looking out of the corner of our eyes at the screen as to whether the game is loaded, but, we can hope. Yeah, we're loading into game number 2, between Gamers 2 versus TNP.
There we go.
It is there, yeah. There's that moment of relief. I know it kind of sounds weird that we're like, is the game going to load? But for a month, we've been like, oh, the game's not loading.
That's one of the things when you go live client, which we do a lot of casting from. There's constantly problems.
Yep.
So that's the reason why we're both a bit, waiting with bated breath to see if it does load.
It's one of the funny things that when EUS goes down, it's bad enough. But when you're in the middle of a tournament and EUS goes down, that's a fun one.
That's like a new level of bad. Because there's been times I've had to fill in for like 2 hours while spectator mode didn't work.
Yep.
And that starts to get a bit scary.
It's okay.
It is.
I mean, it's nice here in the studio.
The studio's awesome.
Yeah.
It is actually awesome.
For those of you that may not be aware, we're actually over in Milan.
We are, yeah.
Milan, Italy.
During Fashion Week.
Yeah, I know. I mean, can't you...
Just look at us.
I know, right?
We really don't fit in here, do we? 2 British men in Milan. Oh, God.
Oh, we're somewhere where we do fit in. Is at the casted desk, I would hope, for this game. We're heading into the game for Gamers 2 versus TNP. Semi-final number 1 here. Gamers 2 might be headed to our grand finals. We'll see whether TNP can upset them.
That's a really good point, actually. I didn't even realize. I'd enjoyed the game so much, I didn't even realize this is semi-finals.
Yep.
The winner of this goes through to play for potentially $1,000. That is not bad. When you consider these guys are not here with us, these are actually playing online while we're at the studio. So $1,000 for playing an online tournament.
Yeah, and it's kind of the funny thing is when you see so many games casted, it's strange to have a game that you enjoyed so much to cast. And I said at the end of the last game that really I didn't feel like that game felt like 50 minutes.
No, they really didn't.
It was a game that was pretty enjoyable, had a storyline, everything about it was just really, really fun.
I love games that seem to go back and forth over and over. It's like a power struggle. It's like a tug of war.
Yeah.
Over the river and such. And it's always fascinating to me to see which of the teams manages to step up big when it really counts. Last time was Gamers 2. And TNP, I am quite curious to see what their mentality is going to be like, because I think they may even be kicking themselves a tiny bit there. They had a massive advantage in that first game.
It feels like the shoe is on the other foot, though, here. Vayne on the side of TNP is kind of going to be the Jax of this game to some extent. That the longer the game goes on, the more you give to her, the better she's going to be. Whereas Gamers 2, running that LeBlanc, have Pantheon, they've got a little bit more late game scaling when you look at a Dr. Mundo, but even a Dr. Mundo doesn't do too well against a very late game Vayne.
Yeah, I was about to say that. The Dr. Mundo is an extremely tanky character, but Vayne does percentage health with Silver Bolt. So you can be the biggest Mundo in the world, but Vayne's still going to bring you down.
Let's see how this early game goes. I was talking about this mid lane matchup. Ocelot actually took the first barrel there, so he's got to be careful. That's something he can't afford to do, but we'll have that extra damage on the ranged attacks. That's one of the things about this matchup is it's all down to how much harass can Gragas land in response to the ranged auto-attack harass from LeBlanc.
Interesting enough, both teams try to counter one another, and it just turns out we've got the duos at top instead of bot.
Yeah, I guess seeing the two in lane against each other, I hadn't really... You know, it
took me a while, so I was like, wait a second, this is the wrong side of the map.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess one team was looking to avoid the 2v2 matchup, or even the 1v1, but it looks like we're going to have business as usual. What that does do, however, is really reduce the effectiveness of Dragon.
That's very true, yeah.
In the early game. So wouldn't be as common to see an early Dragon.
Does this also reduce the effectiveness of JWoww's teleport, would you say, in the early stages?
To some extent. I mean, one of the things that you bring teleport for is Dragon control. Yep. So he's going to be able to gank or return to lane pretty easily, but from there you won't get the objective. So yeah, that is a good point. Teleport at this point is probably not as useful as it normally would be.
It may also signify as well that potentially we are going to have teleports coming back into lane so they can play more aggressive.
Yeah, that is one point, and as you said, could play more aggressive as we are just awaiting the early game shenanigans that is going to come to pass.
I wonder if people can hear that siren.
It's
really jarring.
Well, it's not only that, but I'm wondering whether we've got to run out of here or whether...
I wonder if us speaking about the fashion, like the fashion police are coming to get us. Like, I do wonder if that's what the siren was for, or we're just going to get kicked out of the studio.
Just replaced by two people in Gucci suits.
I would actually quite like to see that.
I wonder whether they'd have any League of Legends knowledge. What, police suits? What's he?
Police
like
Gucci suits would be quite interesting.
Do they have a hat with a light on it, or is that not fashionable?
No, I don't think they'd go for that one, James.
I don't know. I'm not from Gucci.
Neither am I. Either way, we're actually in League of Legends. I know.
I've heard that.
It's crazy. I thought Santrin was going to try a gank in the mid lane, but he's actually backing away. And at the same time, Morden is coming down to mid, but there's not a great deal of potential, I have to say, because Gragas is by and large next to his tower.
One thing to note in this game is, in the previous game, we saw Yuki get an advantage in lane and kind of hold it. We're seeing that again, which is somewhat to be expected from having a Vayne. But it's just kind of business as usual. This time we're seeing Centaurion head up to the top lane rather than looking at going mid. So he's actually going to... No, okay, he's got the position.
Oh, and he's got the prime position to land the Cripple and Tempest onto Yuki with that red buff as well. Beautiful! Aqua Prison comes down, but here's Morden from the side. First blood goes onto Vayne. Can they turn this one back around? Is Santrin going to end up falling? They don't want to overextend here. Flashing from Pantheon long range flash, and then on top of that, the javelin fires on in, the spear, I should say, and picks up the kill.
I thought Santorin was going to get away from that. Didn't look like Safeguard was available at the time, but that was pretty clinical out of Santorin. He looked to back, and then Yuki actually gave him Tempest Cripple position just to instantly walk up to him and do it. So it was kind of good early game damage off that, and from there Yuki ended up falling. Nice bubble out of Yarrow as well.
That was an awesome bubble.
Down.
Yeah, and on top of everything else, we talk about Vayne being a late game AD carry. Got first blood.
Oh yeah, of course, and it's going to even up the CS.
Yeah, on top of that, Lucian also was the recipient of first blood. So when Vayne comes back, I'd imagine Vampiric Scepter probably, maybe even Bilgewater Cutlass if she's got enough gold for it.
We'll see. I'm looking at the gold, trying to add it up. Again, doing maths on stream is one of those things. I would be surprised if it wasn't a Bilgewater, or at least the components of.
Yeah. Staying in lane a bit longer, maybe just to finalize that one.
Something to talk about. There's a Spell Thief's Edge
in
this game. Okay, so that got changed in the recent patch notes. That line of support items now bestows a fair amount of gold. You get 10 gold for every auto attack onto an opponent in lane or opposing structure, up to 3 times within 30 seconds. There's an engage in the bottom.
Yeah, JWoww is being chased down from Santorin and Zerios, but here's Morden once again, trying his best to turn this gank around, but at the end of the day, a couple of ultimates burn, actually both the Sadism and Dragon's Descent from 2 top laners, or bottom laners as the case may be here.
Yeah, in this case it is.
Yeah.
The other thing that has been added is the Frost Queen's Claim active got changed. So it now actually deals, I think it's like a bolt of ice that deals damage. I must admit I've not seen it used in-game yet. Oh, wow, they've actually got a counter in the item tooltip for how many times you can,
how many
charges are on that Frost Queen's Claim. So nice to be able to take note of how many charges have been used. So there's a potential big amount of gold. That's a nice roam from Godbro.
It really is, and Lucian's flash is actually down right now, so not quite able to follow up the damage, or are they? Yuki is going to be falling to Vayne again. That is massive. One point I was going to make. In fact, hold that thought, because both Ocelot and Morden have now joined the fight at top lane. This is a 3 versus 3 situation. Yarrow seems to be the sacrificial lamb of this engage. Will be falling down. Flashing from Diode actually at the top. Vayne falls down. Now going to be going underneath that tower on Godbro, who will be flashing away himself, and he should be fine.
Godbro roamed in the previous game. Very similar time and very similar situation. And got a good amount of damage off here. This time, though, Gamers 2 are going to call his bluff. They've realized what he's going to do. Morden and Ocelot followed him, so good remembering of the last game and remembering how he plays.
Yeah, if you notice a pattern in the enemy jungler or mid laner, follow it, because more often than not, you are going to be rewarded for that. I was going to say at top lane that in the previous engagement where Vayne got the first blood, Lucian popped both of his summoner abilities and Vayne still had both of hers available. So that was really significant when that gank came up. Yeah,
very significant, and I mean, that's what they've got to look out for. Lucian's flash still not available. Barrier's about to come off cooldown, so we'll have that. Vayne still has her barrier available, but has hit level 6.
And does have the Bilgewater Cutlass that we called before, so that's going to be a nice spike in damage, and of course sustain as well, especially when you consider that Nami has the Ebb and Flow heal.
One thing that TNP are doing pretty well, and we saw this in the last game, is changing up their trinkets to be effective in the games. So it's very common on support when you pick up Sightstone to pick up the Sweeper trinket at the same time. And you can see that that's what Yarrow's done here. Sightstone has been... Oh, sorry, not Yarrow. I'm completely talking about the wrong thing. I was confused they're not blue. It's something that Gamers 2 are doing very well in this game. I was,
You got them
stuck in the last game.
It's all
the
good.
last game was 50 minutes.
Yes.
I'm still mentally in that last game.
It was indeed Diode who picked up the sweeping lens, but completely right.
I expect Yarrow to do it as well.
Yeah, as soon as that Sightstone's finished off, because you want to make sure you can just clear away those wards, you know, to make sure your jungler has good path.
Sadly, the only thing that made me realize is the fact that I looked at the Relic Shield and was like, hang on, that's not very useful on Nami.
Nami Relic Shields, definitely not something I've seen a great deal of, if ever. But who knows?
Apart from that first week where Relic Shield was just broken.
True, before it got hit with a nerf bat. But regardless, in the mid lane, let's have a quick look at how CS is doing. Well, the answer is with the kill at the top lane, and it's going to be 20 CS differential.
There's a roam coming down here. Looks like they want revenge on Ocelot.
Wow. They're coming in hard here. 4 players. And it's on LeBlanc, though, who's so easily going to escape that situation.
Oh, this is a big roam down to the dragon.
Wow.
Okay, that's ambitious.
I guess it's like taking a detour to kill Ocelot if he stays there, but if not, hey, we got an objective.
Yeah.
And they should be picking this up because Lucian's still at top. I say that, but here comes the man drop. It's going to be too little too late as he comes down here. Morden with the Grand Sky fail, I guess it was there, as he will actually be getting taken down instantly from Vayne. And that's pretty much going to be a dragon and a free kill.
It will be. They got to be careful that Dio doesn't get caught here, or maybe it was just a trap because Godbro is pretty low. Didn't see that at the time. But
Did I just see him solar flare himself? Anyway, JMR's going to die at bot lane.
If he did, he was expecting the body slam.
Right.
So it was kind of a sacrifice.
Or he just likes to sparkle. He's fabulous.
It's just trying to blind him.
Yeah.
Just like, have sun. And
he just wants to sparkle and be fabulous. And Gragas, I think it probably confused Gragas, and that's why he died.
Either that or the alcohol.
True. He does drink a lot. What do you think's in that barrel?
It depends on the skin he's using. Because I know Gragas Esquire has wine, I think it is, or
yeah.
And Oktoberfest has beer. So
of course, yeah. I don't know what the standard one has. Maybe mead or something.
Mead.
But
seems like a mead kind of person.
He does.
Yuki's in trouble.
He is.
He's not.
But the tower's going to come to his rescue. He also has barrier still, although his flash was burned previously, so he clearly flashed out of a Dragon's Descent, I would assume, there at the top lane, or just a heavy engage. So that's going to be down. That being said, though, Crazy Caps and Nero, after picking up the Dragon, have actually rotated to bot lane. They're going to try and pick up this tower itself. Doesn't look likely for the next few moments.
Yeah, they're waiting for another minion wave. It's a siege wave incoming to the lane, so they should if it stays in a 2v1 situation. But Xerius is got engaged upon by Dude. Nobody's around.
Has a Dragon's Descent, though, so he should be alright. And a flash.
Yeah, I mean, no members of Gamers 2 are around there, so he was just trying to slow him into the turret as much as possible.
Yep. Take a bit of damage.
Yeah, that briefcase just kind of threaded the needle. Landed on Crazy Cap. Santorin, once again, kind of favoring this Vayne lane. Want to get Vayne as fed as possible. 3-1 is a good situation right now to be in at 12.5 minutes.
That's a huge Vayne. That's really terrifying, because once the Blade of the Rune King's finished off, with the final hour, that's when Vayne hits a huge power spike. After Blade of the Rune King, you'll see a lot of Vaynes going into Static Shiv if you're Reckless, or Phantom Dancer, and then Vayne will normally go something like Last Whisper.
Yeah.
Or a defense item if she's being heavily jumped on.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of game-dependent things.
Yeah,
but yeah,
exactly.
any of those build paths are pretty common. It's one of those things. There's the Blade of the Rune King.
Yeah.
As you were saying.
I'm an AD main, so I guess I should know this kind of stuff.
You should know this stuff. I'm glad you do. Otherwise, I'd be wondering why I just picked some random guy off the street to cast. But clearly, could have got the Gucci fashion police to do it instead. But actually, a very selfless pickup here, getting a pink ward on an AD carry, especially on Vayne. Yeah. That's just team focus. That is.
I think it's also very apparent that he wants to make sure he doesn't die in lane. He wants to make sure he can keep pushing forward and he can just gradually get stronger and stronger. And that pink ward is effectively going to probably save his life at some point and save himself maybe 10, 15, 20 creeps.
Yeah.
So it's an investment.
Yeah, and it's a very smart investment as well, because he's had so many kills that even though he's down in CS, he's evening that up in another lane. And he's one of the ones with that spare gold to actually be able to buy that. Rather than a jungler buying it or mid lane, yeah, I think that's a very smart buy.
Definitely. 100 CS as well is pretty decent as Vayne, especially when you consider how much they've been moving around the map, rotating from top to bottom. The long detour through mid as well. But mid lane, Ocelot's definitely making amends for that previous game. He's 2-0, 126 CS to Gragas' 101. Gragas normally farms pretty well in mid.
Yeah, this is a very good position to be in on a LeBlanc. I mean, going for the Athene's Unholy Grail on LeBlanc kind of is a far safer build than going for, I'm just going to go DFG, or a lot of people used to go Medjais as LeBlanc came back, but kind of more consistency has come into the builds. So you farm very well, you get kills. You roam a little bit less, but you get the kills when you actually do roam. Yeah. It's one of those things. Lower early game damage, but you end up with this nice mid game where you're not really punished for your laning.
Do you think that could also come down to the fact he's not feeling entirely confident after that last game? That he wants to make sure that if he does make a misstep, that he's not going to be punished, you know, with an instant burst. We saw what Gragas was capable of yesterday. when Sivir got burst down in a 1-2 combo.
I think that might be part of it. I don't know whether he'll be consumed by that kind of thinking. I just think he wants to play safe rather than overly risky.
Oh, Vayne actually condemning Leona out of the bubble, I think, at bot lane there.
Bit of miscommunication, but you know, that's to be expected. We said they're playing with a substitute there in support, so I mean, it's kind of one of those back and forth things. There's always going to be those little errors.
It happens, unfortunately. But still, they're trying their best to keep their tower alive right now. Pantheon coming down to bot lane. Lee Sin on the White Wraith as well, so could potentially see some action with Dragon up in around 45 seconds. You can see that both teams are trying to clear the wards out and get ready for it. And
that's one of the biggest parts. So you can see the pink wards. I'm looking for where the Vaynes got placed. Looks like it actually got cleared out. But neither team have that control of the Dragon area right now. They've got a couple of wards around the place, but nothing really over the entrance to that Dragon. I wonder whether we'll see TNP going for that kind of controlling roam again. In fact, they don't need to because they're down in the bottom lane.
I think the pink ward actually went into the bottom bottom bush. And we were talking before about Cullen goes off, but it's more just to harass Vayne than anything else. But I was talking about it being defensive-based. Maybe it was offensive-based. Maybe she wanted to clear out the bottom bush so that the jungler could come in and then try and get some more kills.
Yeah, I actually missed that, unfortunately. Didn't quite catch on. But nevertheless, we are very even in this game. The Dragon really will separate the teams. And Gamers 2, knowing that they pretty much have the ward coverage around the area. They don't have full control, but they're going to cover the area, make sure that they can take this Dragon down. This time, they get it, and it's one Dragon apiece.
Yep, and very close on gold as well. Just 400 in it right now. So, similar to last game, looks like it could be going down to the wire. And JWoww has just picked up the tower. In fact, sorry, the other way around. Zerius picked up the tower, and JWoww will be ulting back on towards him. There's the Dragon's descent back on the tower area, but JWoww has just ate an ignite, so that sadism is going to be chunked through from Zerius, who is looking hungry to pick up this kill afterwards with all the creeps behind him. But there is the Grand Skyfall at the top lane right now. Will be falling from Pantheon, forces Zerius to actually flash away, I believe, and he will be getting to safety.
Yeah, Zerius had to flash that one. Didn't quite catch it, but looks like he'll be getting... Oh, wait, no. Here comes Ocelot.
Uh-oh. Not looking good. Flash and a stun from Morden, but a lot of movement speed right now from Shyvana, and Ocelot choosing wrong. And Zerius is coming down here. Don't think he's going to be able to escape from this situation. Mundo is still alive and will be recalling. There we go. Ocelot picks up the pieces.
Used up a lot of time there, though, and that's going to allow bottom lane to engage.
Oh, the flash away from Nami, as Vayne does get caught from that Zenith Blade. He's going to be popping the Blade of the Rune King and the final hour going back in on Diode. Will pick up the first kill. There's the barrier popped as well. Yuki is going to get himself caught out from Santorin, but it's not enough to keep Vayne alive. However, Santorin will claim that 2-for-2 trade globally.
JWoww teleported down to the bottom lane, so this doesn't look like it's over.
No, Morden has been caught here, jumping onto the ward as well, but Ocelot and also JWoww are going to be moving in from the side, pincering up, and Ocelot picks up his 4th kill of the game.
That's a pretty good number of kills to be on if you are a LeBlanc. Vayne, however, does have 4. Died in that engagement because he went very, very aggressive onto killing a support, and kind of Yuki just was like, yeah, you can't do this. I'm just going to output some damage on you, and you're going to die. So you got to be careful of their targeting there on Vayne.
It looks like Vayne is going for Static Shiv next, and this is very reminiscent of how Reckless builds Vayne. Used to go Blade of the Rain, Rune King first, Static Shiv, then Phantom Dancer. So all the attack speed, all centered around Silver Bolts. And it would chunk through, and that would make a lot of sense against JWoww, because we spoke about this before. Yeah. Mundo is susceptible to getting crushed by Vayne.
Yeah, and right now Mundo is at a point where he's got that Warden's Mail, so we'll get the attack speed reduction on anybody targeting him, but TNP found themselves a tower in the middle lane. Ocelot seems like he wanted to go aggressive.
Well, that was ballsy from Ocelot, but Zerius has been baited underneath the towers. Solar Flare comes in, Culling from the side will be claiming that kill, and what looked like overly aggressive play from Ocelot actually gets them a kill in the end.
Yeah, and Yuki's going to try and chase on there.
Grand Skyfall comes down from Morden. It's going to land on Santorin, gets pushed back from the Condemn, but Yuki's constantly slowing everybody down. It's not Yuki, sorry. I thought he had the red buff. It's actually Ocelot who goes back in and does manage to escape after.
That's a really nice set of kills there that Gamers 2 just picked up. They picked up 2 of the tankier members, so it really means that TNP can't look to re-engage any kind of fight here because they just don't have the survivability to eat a lot of the damage. As a wave's going to push up in mid, it doesn't look like Gamers 2 are going to really focus that down, but looks like they're just going to head back and buy.
Yep, they're going to all come back to spawn. Let's have a quick look at what items they decide to choose. So that's going to be a Phage, a Rabadon's Death Cap picked up as well from Ocelot, and a Giant's Belt for Pantheon. So everyone just getting that bit stronger.
Interestingly enough, Gragas has held on to a blue pot for quite a while. He's had it for a good few minutes, as I saw the last time he recalled and actually picked it up. Not too sure. Well, I understand why you'd get it, of course. You know, extra ability power, extra cooldown reduction, but it's an investment in gold that I'm not too sure about.
Perhaps that's a declaration intent that he wants to play really, really aggressive for the next few minutes. That they want to try and make some big plays, because otherwise it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
My problem with that is if that were the case, and I can see that as a point, but when they were going aggressive in the middle lane, surely that to me would have been the best time to use it. I guess he may be holding on to it until he's used the explosive task to get that extra cooldown reduction, but it's one of those things that the longer he holds on to it, the more detrimental that 250 gold not being in his inventory becomes, because it's a very hypothetical situation to be in, but if they fight in a situation where perhaps he's 250 gold away from a big item before the fight, again, it's a very loose hypothetical thing, but it's just one of those things that if that pot doesn't give him the benefits, it's wasted gold.
Yeah, we're going to have to find out exactly when he's going to elect to pop that potion. Bot lane right now, aforementioned Gragas is in a lane with LeBlanc as he fires in the explosive cast just to push away the creep wave and also LeBlanc. Did he just catch the edge of LeBlanc there?
I think it was either that he caught her or distortion was used.
Right, okay.
She has taken damage, so I would assume he caught her. But Static Shiv onto Vayne. Mr. Metuz, you were correct.
Well, he had the Avarice Blade and
I know,
Zeal,
it's an
so
educated guess, right?
It's basically cheating. If he didn't pick it up at that point, I'd be like, okay, that's a bit strange.
I'm trying to think what else Avarice Blade goes into, actually.
Yumo's Ghost Blade.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's Yumo's, isn't it?
And it would be quite weird for a Vayne to pick that one up.
It would be, although it now does give ranged benefits.
True.
It didn't for a very long time. It was only melee, and then they kind of changed it a good few months ago. I remember I was casting with Panky, actually, and he was like, why did they pick that up? It's melee. And I hovered over, and I was like, oh, actually, Ghost change. Ninja change. Nobody ever knew it.
Now, I am quite curious now, because you're against the LeBlanc, because you're against quite a lot of CC as well, if Vayne is going to go straight into Quicksilver Sash next. Because a lot of ADs will go Phantom Dancer just for raw damage, but I feel that Vayne needs to survive. The damage will come eventually. Keeping yourself alive is very important, though.
Yeah, and I agree. It's a case of now we just have to kind of wait and see the playstyle choice of Crazy Caps. He can either be greedy and go for more damage, or be a little bit more conservative and get that escape. Gamers 2 are going to be the ones to pressure out this dragon, so that'll be their second of the game.
Second in a row as well, I think.
Yeah.
Well, of course it is the second of the game. But they've had the complete control over Dragon Pit, as Yuki actually takes quite a bit of damage there from Vayne, forcing the flash from Daoud through the wall. But it's going to keep them alive.
Yeah, I mean, TNP did get the first one with that crazy roam from the top lane, so it could have been.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here's the engage.
The arrow has been caught. There is the tidal wave. Big explosive cask. Still hasn't used his pot, though. Vayne's going to be coming back in. Gets the kill. Can he get the double kill there onto Lucian, who is extremely low? As a result, Godbro is giving chase to both JWoww and Ocelot. But they should be okay. That being said, though, with a couple players dead in mid, they're going to try and push this tower down. Yeah,
Xerius can face tank this up, considering it's at half health and they got a Vayne with decent amount of attack speed. They do back off for the minion wave, but that was a good fight there for TNP. They got the kills onto Vayne, who's now at 5-2, and just managed to get enough pressure that they're actually going to take a second turret from this.
They are, so that was a big passage of play for TNP. Again, though, Gragas hasn't used his pot, so I really don't understand what the idea behind that is.
I don't know. It's one of those things that I can
maybe just forgot.
I wouldn't want to say that, but perhaps.
Mundo has teleported into mid. So they're going to try and answer back here and get some revenge for those 2 towers that just died, but not a great deal happening. Actually, Godbro will be flashing in. Here comes the Grand Skyfall again, though, from Morn. It's going to land on a plethora of players, though Godbro is going to be focused now before Explosive Casking. Zeros now will be finding himself 6 foot under as a result of Pantheon. So a 2 physio trade in that situation. But LeBlanc is very low, and so is Yuki, so I'm not too sure if they're going to be able to push the mid. Nope, they're backing away.
And that's a really good response out of Gamers too. Are they going to Baron?
Oh, that is definitely a possibility.
That's a risky play here.
It is, but I guess that because it's a 5 versus 3 and 2 players are dead for 10 seconds, they think they can take it down in time. But if Santron plays his cards right here, he can steal this Baron away. He finds in his Q. Is he going to come around from the side? He's been silenced. He's been stunned as well. He will be falling down. And this should be the Baron picked up from G2.
That was really nice out of Ocelot. Getting over that wall, making sure that Santorin had 2 options. He had to deal with LeBlanc first, and then had to try and steal it. Also, the silence prevents him from using Resonating Strike as a follow-up, so he had no escape into the pit. Really, really nice usage of that. And that's a very early Baron.
It is. I said in the play-by-play that they can't push the mid. What I didn't realize is, well, Baron. They've got Mundo, who's very tanky. They've got Morden, who's got a Randuin's Omen as well, so he's pretty tanky. So it's pretty easy for them to actually pick that Baron up.
This game is pretty different from our last one.
Yep.
You look at Santorin's stat line, 2, 5, and 2. I mean, last game at one point, I think he was 5 and 0.
He was.
Or very yeah.
It's like 5, 0, and 8, I think.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that. And he was doing so well in that game. And he's just been caught out a little bit. And maybe it's because of the Pantheon ban. Because in game 1, Pantheon was banned with Vi and Elise. This time, he's picked Lee Sin when Pantheon was available, and maybe it just doesn't suit his strength as well.
Speaking of Pantheon, he's going to be jumping on Crazy Caps. He does quite a bit of damage, but huge burst. And Pantheon actually gets the last hit there. That's going to be Solar Flare landing on Yero. Instantly uses a Mikhail's Crucible on himself.
Not sure about this game. There's a Medjay Soul Stealer on Nami.
What?
That doesn't seem the smartest investment of gold to me.
I would probably go ahead and say I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with
No,
that?
I don't agree with the pickup.
Oh, okay. I was going to say...
Not with you.
I was going to be like, Vince, you've just told us your AD carry knowledge.
Medjay Soul Stealer on Nami that's 0, 1, and 8. It's the best pickup in the world.
Well, I mean, you do get stacks from assists.
True.
So I can understand why, but it just doesn't seem like the greatest efficiency.
LeBlanc has just picked up the kill on Shyvana. This should spell the end of this tower as they are smacking this one down. And J-Var's at the point now where he can tank towers. They don't even need creep wave.
Yeah, they are pretty strong right now. And Gamers 2 are in a very different situation to the previous game, where they had to kind of wait the game out a little bit. The thing that TNP have going for them is they're 5 and 3 Vayne. It's a case now of protect the Vayne. However, 5 and 3 is nice. On the other side, 2, 3, and 4 Lucian with nearly 100 more CS. You're looking at 78, 79 more CS than a Vayne, which kind of is going to even their gold out, and then it's all down to global gold. There's an extra tower, an extra dragon at least on to Gamers 2. So they have a fair amount of global gold from this.
So sure, Nami, if she starts to get some stacks, she'll be able to heal Vayne a lot more. And also I believe some of the changes that are made to her is the more ability power you get, the more movement speed you give as well. So I can understand that side of it, but the problem is that you only have Sightstone in terms of being tanky. She's incredibly weak right now. LeBlanc can pretty much insta-give her.
I think that it's kind of assuming that you stay alive in team fights by just kind of being at the outskirts, using Tidal Wave to disengage from yourself and make sure everybody that is in front of you is knocked up. I just think it might have been a better option. I mean, I haven't seen the efficiency of the Frost Queen's claim. That's not something that I have seen all that much of at the top level. So I don't know whether the investment in the Tier 3 upgrade would have been a smarter choice than a Medjay's. What I do know is Yero is a very unique player when it comes to support, and he has his ways of doing things.
Because I would have thought that instead of a Medjay Soul Stealer, you could have sold the Frost's Blade item and got a Talisman of Ascension.
It's possible.
Because you look at who they're against, Mundo, also Mantian, and they've got Leona. They've got so much CC that surely you'd want Vayne to be as mobile as physically possible to dart around the edges and put output damage.
Yeah.
At the moment, it seems like quite a kind of immobile team that they're playing.
The one thing I will say in TNP's favor at this point is they are behind, but they've got their first Banshee's Veil. And we saw what happens when you get multiple Banshee's Veils onto your team. There's also Spectre's Cowl onto Lee Sin in this game. So it's a case now of just getting more and more Banshees. Gragas should be soon to get one. Vayne will be soon to get one. And that's a difficult point because Ocelot has 7 kills. And if he can't do the work, pretty difficult.
And that's kind of what we saw last time around.
Yeah.
Where Gamers 2 all built Banshees, I believe. They had 4 or 5 Banshees. And it got to a point where they were pushing towers and LeBlanc couldn't do anything. Her job seemingly became just get rid of their Banshees, but then they had no follow-up damage.
Gamers 2 need to start looking to close this game out. You can see them positioning themselves around the inhibitor towers. They have to get them. They have to get one. One inhibitor tower is all they need to crack this shell. And from there, they won't get Banshees. That's what they needed.
Well,
that is exactly what they need.
That's Gragas down. That's not just, him down for 40 seconds. That's no explosive cast. That's no creep clear at all, or wave clear. And now they're going to be able to push the top lane, which is exactly what they're doing with both Yuki and Mundo, stopping Crazy Caps from moving up there. So that is the first tower down. As you said, the shell has now been cracked. Inhibitor will be following suit as well. That pickup from Ocelot was simply massive.
Yeah, that was huge. And that was the 7-0 damage that you needed from that LeBlanc. From here, this is it's going to be difficult to get to the stage where they can deal with Ocelot now because towers are going to fall every time somebody is dead, and Ocelot will pick anybody that isn't Shyvana off pretty easily right now. This is going to be a second inhibitor going down, and this is a very different situation from the last game. The last game, TNP got stalled out because Gamers 2 never dropped an inhibitor turret. This time, 2 inhibitors are down at the 31-minute mark. And they are going to be starved of gold from those Banshees.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it looks like they're going to be pushing the bottom lane while Super Minions push on through top and also mid. It's a very difficult situation for TNP to stall themselves out of, to turtle out of, because, as you say, the shell has been, pretty much smashed.
Yeah, it's now a waiting game for Gamers 2. Within a minute, lanes will be pushed in. Ocelot is going to hop over the wall, but we saw yet in the earlier game Godbro doing that, and it kind of almost cost them, because you put yourself out of position for it. So they're playing a waiting game. Super Minions, top and mid lane is soon going to push in. And Vayne has to go and deal with that. Vayne or Godbro have to deal with that. And the other one is going to be easy pickings for Ocelot.
And Vayne is really the only... Oh my goodness, Culling comes through from Yuki after all the damage from Ocelot. I think it was a 1-2 combo. And that's actually going to force Nami back far enough that they can try and now pick up this tower. That's exactly what they're going to do. An explosive gas comes in. There is the Dragon's Descent, but TNP's Zerius instantly gets popped. They don't really have a tank anymore. Here comes the Grand Skyfall from Pantheon as well. It's going to land on Godbro, stuns him up as well from the backside. Meanwhile, Lucian's going deep, takes down Crazy Caps. That's the only half-fed member on the side of TNP. And this is looking like it's going to be game number 2. And this best of 3 going to Gamers 2 and Ocelot's LeBlanc.
That was a very different game for Ocelot. We talked about game 1. He felt he didn't perform all that well. This game, 8-0-6. And they advanced to the finals, 2-0 over a very sharp-looking TNP.
They did look pretty good, especially in that first game. Second game was a bit more one-sided, I'd have to say.
Yeah.
But Ocelot, he said on his Twitter, he didn't feel he performed well in game number 1. Man, oh man, did he bounce back with a vengeance. He didn't die in that game. 8-0-6 on LeBlanc.
And that's pretty difficult to do as LeBlanc, because we talked about how LeBlanc typically is a bit of a skill matchup. You have to be confident that you're going to win that lane. It's not just about the champion, it's about how you play it, and he played that pretty darn well.
I would almost say flawlessly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no deaths. I guess that's his flawless.
He went super aggressive a couple times, but he always backed out of it just in the nick of time. And then you had or Mount Morden coming around, or maybe Mundo coming around to help him out. So it was always a bait.
The tipping point of that game was Ocelot seeing that split-second gap on Godbro, where he just removed him, and they took the inhibitor tower.
Yeah.
That right there, just that vision on that one moment in the game pretty much won them that game.
Yeah.
Like, without that, that would have stalled out a little bit longer, and Vayne has the potential to come back into it.
That's true, and in Crazy Cap's side there, in his favour, he did play very well.
Yeah.
He did, at one stage, I think, had 4-1 as his scoreline.
Yeah, I think that was the case.
He had an early Blade of the Ruined King and Static Shiv, which on Vayne is massive at the stage of the game he had it in. But the problem is that everywhere else, his team was kind of lacking behind.
Yeah, well, we're going to head off to a break as we get things ready for game number 2 here, our semi-final number 2, in fact. That is going to be N Faculty going up against SK Gaming Prime in our second semi-final of the day. That's going to be an awesome series. We'll see who advances to face Gamers 2 in the finals in just a few minutes when we come back here for the FACEIT Challenger Invitational.